Good morning, my name is Erica Lopi. I'm a senior at Cienega High School, and throughout my high school career, I had to take numerous standardized tests, most recently the SAT and the ACT. While taking these tests, I had to wonder, why am I taking these tests? How does this test measure my intelligence? And is this one test really going to define my future? Standardized tests were first devised in 1914. There is a speculation upon who the actual creator is. The earliest known standardized tests were administered to government job applicants in 17th century Imperial China. However, one of the first tests was created by a man named Frederick J. Kelly. He believed he had created a test that measured what students were learning in schools, how well the teachers are teaching the students, and how well the school district is doing as a whole. Student tracking using standardized tests became a common practice in the 1920s. Gallagher says, by 1929, more than 5 million tests were administered annually, and results were used to segregate those who had learned from those who had not. Testing was also being used to evaluate instructional quality in schools. The multiple test was adapted through national use, although it was not legalized to be mandatory policy around 50 years ago. In 2001, George W. Bush established the No Child Left Behind Act that enforced holding schools responsible for the academic progress of all students, which put a special focus on keeping every child behind until the last child caught up. Behind the act, opponents say the tests are neither fair nor objective, that their use promotes a narrow curriculum and drill-like teaching to the test, and that excessive testing undermines America's ability to produce innovators and critical thinkers. There is a lot of data that shows that this does work, though there are arguments that prove that there are imperfections within the system. How does a child learn? They learn through hands-on action, visual interaction, and personal help. A child needs to be taught through their personal abilities as well as being tested on what they learn in school. According to Ezer, Gillett, and Seiji, recent graduates of teaching education programs indicate that the component perceived as most important to the teacher's role is delivering universal values followed by educating towards appropriate behavior and prevention of violence, and developing the pupil's unique personal abilities. Studies have found that between 50 to 80% of the improvement shown in test scores from one year to the next year are temporary and was caused by inflections that had nothing to do with long-term learning. Even upon the standardized tests, do not measure everything that a child's brain contains. It measures only a small portion of everything that is meaningful. Creators even admit that the tests do not measure creativity, critical thinking, resilience, motivation, persistence, curiosity, endurance, reliability, enthusiasm, empathy, courage, leadership, sense of wonder, honesty, and integrity. It encourages a simplistic way of thinking in which there are only right and wrong answers, which doesn't apply to real-world situations. Unfortunately, due to the fact that Americans are so based upon our standardized testing, we fall below standards compared to the world. In 2012, analysts of students' performance in the U.S. placed 27th out of 34 countries in math performance, while being 20th in science performance. We are far below Shanghai, which comes in the ringing first place of scores. Average math and reading scores for 17-year-olds have remained relatively stagnant since the 1970s. There are numerous implications that standardized testing has created within the education system. They are unfair against non-English speakers and special needs students. Special education students have to take the same exact tests that regular/gifted children have to take. It's expensive. According to Texas Education Agency in 2003, the state spent $9 million in resources to test students, while the cost to taxpayers from 2009 to 2012 is projected to be around $88 million per year. There's a heavy increase in the amount of stress within the kids, according to Gregory J. Cizik, an education researcher, illustrates how testing produces grouping anxiety in even the brightest student and makes Jacksonville pediatrician Dr. Wendy Spolatsky says that the number of students that she's seen with stress-related illnesses around the time of standardized testing in schools has grown dramatically. We've seen increased anxiety over the past 5 to 8 years. It's just incredible. Get this, even teachers hate this whole process as well. It creates a major amount of stress that can build upon a teacher. Some districts evaluate their teachers based on their children's test scores. 66% of parents don't believe that this should even be a thing. So what can we do? There are ways to test the students better. There has got to be. Our system isn't perfect. Well, we could start by adding additional tests that would counteract the standardized testing system. These testing options would amount to look like meaningless surveys, games, and inspections. However, they are doing much more behind the words than kids think. There are social and emotional skills surveys. The survey will measure a student's social and emotional well-being. Some preschools are already starting, and it takes the place of standardized testing. The Montgomery County Public School in Maryland has conducted the survey for years, and it is showing them the engagement level of which a student is at when they're at school. This survey will also be a better predictor of who will be more persistent in the future than the SAT or the ACT ever could, or what a GPA can even do. Parents in some communities have formed opt-out groups and removed their children not only from federally mandated tests that have followed. As states expand access to pre-K, they are including social and emotional measures in their definitions of high-quality preschools. At one component of multiple measured systems, all schools could be held accountable for cultivating this half of the picture. It is statistically shown that kids show long-term success when they are able to achieve non-academic qualities such as perseverance and curiosity, rather than getting the grade to pass a grade level and move on. There are game-based assessments that can get kids connected on a level that they haven't before. Technology has allowed us to start testing through computers rather than paper multiple-choice tests. The video game-based assessment is designed to get at a higher base thinking level and critical skills. The game is specifically made to an individual to see how the person's will to think and logical ability to take feedback, something that a standardized test cannot do in a classroom. Although around the world there are different assessment inspections are used in places such as Scotland, where there is no standard to meet for the school, but there is one to meet for college entrance exams and high school exit exams. Each of the schools, in order to get their students moving forward, they push them to take a wide range of approaches for the assessment. At the school level, Scotland remains accountable through a system of government inspections that has been in place in the UK since 1833. These assessments range from a presentation to a report. These assessments measure one's ability to think in a higher order of creativity, their well-being, technological literacy, and the creativity of their minds. The teachers have control over these methods. In conclusion, it's clear these laws have been revised. That is one of the only ways that we can continue to watch the rest of our youth grow. People need to start thinking of better ways to teach their children abilities other than standardized testing. We need to start investing in our futures and our children. Thank you.